Welcome back to Everyday Elevations, the podcast where we transform ordinary moments into extraordinary outcomes. So today I'm excited, not just because we're in season 2, but because I have a very special guest as well. So today we have Jose Ibarra. He is a certified health and fitness, nutrition, life, and mindset coach. That is a mouthful.
Right.
And where he helps people break through a lot of the barriers. With that, Jose, I would love to just have you introduce yourself, obviously give a little bit more in-depth description, and tell us your journey.
Awesome. Well, first off, I appreciate the opportunity to be on your podcast. It's incredible. I can't wait to see how season 2 plays out for you. But like you mentioned, I'm a certified life, fitness, nutrition, mindset, health coach, certified personal trainer, certified level 1 CrossFit coach. So basically the point is I got a lot of certifications because I'm always learning. I'm always growing because as I grow, I'm able to help more people do the same thing. So let's kind of start with my story, and I'll give the short version and the less emotional version. When I do the emotional version, I usually leave post crying, so I don't want to do that. But about 8.5, almost 9 years ago, I was at a point in my life where I knew something had to change. I was miserable. I was like, I like to tell people I was broke, busted, and disgusted. And not broke in like the financial sense, but I was just broke. I was going through a divorce. I was learning how to navigate life with my children half the time instead of full time. I was still running my DJ business, still working full time at the credit union in a very stressful position, by the way, which I shouldn't have been in that position, but going through a divorce, don't put somebody on the phone. Let's just leave it at that. Almost cost me my job because I just couldn't get it all together. And it wasn't until my friend Stephanie said, Jose, I want to help you get healthy. I want you to do it with me. Like, let's do this together. I know we can both. Because I felt that I had like 10 to 15 pounds I needed to lose, maybe get a little bit more energy so I could, keep up with my kids. And it wasn't until after, she reached out to me and I said, I don't know if I'm into this. I said, I'll support you, but I don't know if it's for me. Fast forward about a week later, I'm sitting on the couch. I just had pizza with the kids because that was convenient, right? It was quick, easy, convenient. I was exhausted. And as I'm on the couch and we live 3 minutes away from a park, my daughter wants to go to the park. And she says she's so excited to be back at my house because the park's right around the corner. And as she comes up and says, Dad, let's go to the park, I'm laying down exhausted, which I'm sure, raise your hand if you can, you feel that. Your kids want to do something and you're just tired. But that was me constantly. And I knew that that's not how it should be. So when my daughter looked at me and said, never mind, Dad, you're too tired, she turned around and walked away from me. And in that moment, I just felt my heart shatter. I knew that my little girl was hurting because I was failing her as a father. And the same thing with my son, who's only 2 years older. I was failing my children, was not being the father that they deserved. And I also realized that I wasn't being the friend that my friends deserved. I wasn't being the son that my mom and dad deserved. I wasn't being the brother that my siblings deserved. I wasn't being me because I was so out of touch with reality and just so exhausted and just trying to process through everything. I'm always the guy that helps everyone else. So when I'm going through something, I was really going through it. So I finally reached out to my friend Stephanie and I said, okay, what do I need to do? I explained what happened. I said, I need to get back on track. I need to be the best dad possible. And so she explained the situation. It was through a direct sales company. I went all in. When I say I went all in, I spent $2,100. And the reason I went all in that way is I knew that if I didn't have skin in the game, I wouldn't take it as serious. So I went all in. That first month, I dropped 19 pounds. Went on after 4 months, was down 38 pounds. And I kept it off for a long time. And then in that short time frame, that short 4 months, not only did I lose the weight, but my friends Zach and Levi really helped me get into personal development. Levi gave me my first personal development book. And then from there, I just kept reading and reading and reading. And people start taking notice of the changes, physical, mental, emotional, like all of it. Like, what are you doing? So I started helping other people do the same thing. Fast forward, several years later, I decided during furlough from my job during COVID, I said, you know what? I'm going to get some certifications so I can really help people the same way that someone helped me. And I went all in on coaching. And a few months later, I put in a 30-day notice and said, all right, let's do this. Now, quick disclaimer, don't ever just quit your job and just go for it unless unless that's just how you have to do it. If I don't go all in, I'm not as committed, right? So I went all in, just quit my job, had about 3 months worth of reserves. Like if I didn't make a dime in 3 months, I could still sustain my lifestyle. And so I said, let's do it. And that was 3.5 years ago. That was September of 2020.
Love it. So there's so many relatable points to your story there. A lot of us, myself included, the reason why I started this podcast because I wasn't happy with aspects of my life, and physical fitness was the prime one. We had talked about this offline, and I've talked about on various episodes about the fact that I had wanted to fix my physical fitness. I'm sure a lot of people listening here need to fix something. That's why they're on these podcasts. Why listen to Everyday Elevations. I think it's really interesting how it's such a common thing. What I love that you said, though, is that you're an all-in kind of person. That's ridiculously relatable to me. I love that because for me, like if I know it's a good idea and I believe in myself, I can execute. So it seems like you're a very similar person. That I think it's fun seeing that type of personality. And obviously you're doing amazing with coaching here. You have, God, so many certifications. And you're going to have more because you just keep getting smarter and smarter with it and want to learn more and more. So it's amazing. I don't really have a question at this point with that other than I'm actually kind of more just want to talk a little bit about that, about the backstory and talk about how I love your story because I just think that it's something these listeners can listen to like, hey, I'm right here or I was there. And I think that's great. I am curious though with the coaching, talk to me a little about that. Like because you have so many different certifications, I feel like there's so many different avenues you can go with your coaching. I'm curious what you do currently with your coaching.
So there are a lot of different ways I can go with it. And I've tried everything under the sun. I tried life coaching directly. I tried, just nutrition coaching, macro coaching. I've done a little bit of everything. And there's a lot of my coaches that I've hired in the past to say, find your niche, right? Really dial in on that. And I've done that, but I wasn't always getting those clients, So, I dialed in, and my tagline was, I help busy parents lose fat and gain energy without dieting ever again. And that's kind of what I focused on. But I was getting a lot of people reaching out to me for other stuff. But when I was so dialed in on everything, which is great because now people know that's my specialty, but I'm still getting people calling for other stuff. And that's okay too, right? If you have a goal, I don't care what the goal is, I can help. So, because again, I do have, and it's not just the certifications, it's the experience. I've experienced a lot of life. And there's people that I've grown up with my whole life that don't fully know my story from my childhood. And the very few that do, when I shared that with them, they were in tears. Like I had no idea. Because here's the thing about life. Rocky says it best in that one clip, nobody hits you harder than life, right? It's not about how hard you get hit. It's how you get back up. I used it as fuel to be better. A lot of people in my situation or similar situation, that's their crutch or their excuse to, well, it's because of my childhood or I grew up that way. But it doesn't have to be that way. I use it as fuel to be better. My sister used it as fuel to be better. My brother is now using it as fuel to be better. But it was very different on how we approached it. So my main focus is health and fitness because that's what most people need. But the reason I got the mindset and the life coaching certifications is if I can't help people fix this up here and then really get in touch with this right here, when things get tough, they quit. And so we got to really fix those things. And so that's my main focus is the health and nutrition with the mindset and the heart piece. But I've had people come to me with other things, and I've been able to help them with that. Start a business. Hey, let's come up with ideas. I'm an excellent brainstormer, let me tell you. I'm great at asking questions to pull things out of people. My friend Craig on his podcast always asks people, what is your superpower? for me, I'm really good at pulling things out of people, pulling out that greatness and helping them break through and have those aha moments. So,
I mean, that is a great superpower to have. I'm working on getting there myself, but I'm curious because you mentioned the niche. This is something that I think a lot of people, they understand what a niche is, but how to find their own niche. How would you recommend someone looking introspectively to figure out what is your purpose, essentially? Because that's essentially what your niche is. What's special about you that differentiates you from other people?
So the reason that I really dialed in with the whole, lose fat and gain energy without dieting, because I was a chronic yo-yo dieter. I would try everything under the sun. I'd have great results, but then you gain it back because diets are not sustainable long-term. A lifestyle is what's sustainable, right? And so that's why I really dialed into that, because it's what I've experienced the most. And that's what had the most knowledge. And so I feel that I can help anybody with anything, but that's the thing that I'm the best at is the health, wellness, fitness, all those things, and really putting the mindset piece into it. So anytime that someone does my 12-week course, whether it's being coached or the self-study option, they learn about all those things. They learn about how, the mind works, when it comes to food and, how people use it to cope. They learn about, what a macro is. Most people don't know what macros are, or if they do, they don't know a lot about them. Like I did an intake call with a client of mine a few weeks ago, and she was already tracking her macros and she was already starting to see a little bit of success, but she wanted some guidance. So I asked her, I said, what's your macro split? And she had it at 50% carbohydrates, 30% fat, and only 20% protein. Like, that's a little backwards. We want to up your protein because that's going to help you stay feeling fuller longer. Same thing with fats, but carbohydrates aren't necessarily the enemy, but we just got to make sure we're eating the right kind. So I've got her on 35% protein, 35% carbohydrates, and 30% fats. And in the last, I want to say 3 weeks, she's down 10 pounds. So, and she's feeling great. Like her energy's a lot better than it has been. She feels like she's eating more than she normally does. Most people don't eat enough. And then that just messes with their metabolism. And that's a whole different topic. So,
yeah, I found that I learned from my coach that that's what I was doing wrong. I thought I was eating enough protein. He's like, you are way below I was maybe 20% what I need to have.
Right. Most people are under eating protein.
Yeah. So it's as soon as you said that, I was like, yeah, completely relate. Like, I know that I was messing up. I never really worried about carbs. I know you can eat good carbs. That's just the common news myth that, hey, carbs are bad. That was true, then people living in Italy wouldn't live to 100 years.
Right. Because they eat carbs all the time.
Yeah. They have carbs at every meal. So that's why I was like, okay. It's just what you put into your body.
Absolutely.
So, okay. So that makes sense. So really for your niche, what you're saying is that you just have to know what your strengths are and go from there. So for yours, you understood your story of the yo-yo diet. So you turned that into a system of coaching, essentially, to know your own strengths. So I think that's just something helpful, because I know for me, it's even I struggle to figure out what my niche is. Like I can get a podcast started in less than 24 hours, right? I know I can do that for anybody. But is that really me?
Right.
That's one of those things where I kind of think about like, I don't know. That's not what excites me. But sure, I can coach that, of course. Kind of like you have all your different experiences and certifications, but are you like maybe one of them is a little bit more key to what you do than sort of tool, for instance.
Right. Absolutely.
I think that's where people struggle with that niche, is figuring out exactly who they are. Well, that's the reason why I asked the question, because you went from all these struggles to getting into coaching, and like you're an all-in kind of guy, and not everyone else is like that. I'm very similar to you in that regard, but it's just one of those things where I'm just kind of curious how you went about figuring out your niche, because I know there's a ton of people who struggle.
Well, I learned that from my business coach, Vince. Shout out to Vince Del Monte. He's phenomenal. If you're in the fitness business and you want to learn how to scale your business, that's the guy to go to. But he talked about sharing his story, where he growing up being skinny Vinny and, having to pack on muscle to get bigger. So he essentially took his story and turned it into a program and just sold the crap out of it. And then as he started doing more things, he's like, well, now, okay, this is one part of my story. Now the next season I've done this. So now I'm going to focus more on that. And then now, of course, he teaches people how to scale a business because that's what he's done multiple times over. And he's just phenomenal, you know? So you learn from other people, but your story is what truly matters. Your message to the world, but also your story is someone else's survival guide. So my story, what I coach people through, that's going to help them get to that next level. That's going to help them, feel the best. That's going to help them have that breakthrough, more than anything else that I've done, because that's what I'm solid with. That's just like with my DJ career. I've been a wedding DJ for 20 years. I could do a wedding with my eyes closed because I've done it so many times. I'm so comfortable at weddings that you can't even faze me. If something goes wrong, most of the time I've got it fixed before anyone notices, because like my eyes and ears are always open. And that just came from my mentor who had 15 years experience. He taught me a lot of little things, and this with experience, I just enhanced it. So experience is the best teacher.
So I know you're working on a project. Actually just released this year, correct? The Committed Life Project. Tell me about that.
That's a whole funny story in itself. So about 5 years ago, I kept hearing this whisper in my ear. It kept saying, live life committed. I was like, what? Live life committed? What is that? And I'm a very, I don't want to say I'm an over religious person, but I definitely, have my faith. So I just kept hearing it over and over. And I'm like, okay, that's a sign of something, but what? And I kept trying to figure it out, and nothing was really clicking in my head, but it was always in the back of my mind. So since I couldn't figure it out, I kind of pushed it aside, but I'll come back to that later. Fast forward several years later, it kept popping up again. I actually have my journal next to me. I was actually looking at it the other day. It was June of 2023. So almost a year ago. It said, as one of my goals for 2023, launch the Committed Life Project. And it wasn't until December that I started really saying, okay, you know what? I need to do more with this, but what? And I kept dabbling here and there, but nothing really made sense. And again, I'm also I'm a recovering perfectionist. I don't want to be a perfectionist because people can't relate to a perfectionist, right? And if you're a perfectionist, you're also a procrastinator. So fast forward to February, I went to ChatGPT, and I think I shared this story with you before, and people love this story because it's so silly, but I typed in, I need a 30-day launch plan for the Committed Life Project, explained kind of what it was, and within seconds, I had a 30-day launch plan. And then within that first day, I did the first 7 days that was on that plan in that first day. I wrote my vision statement, my mission statement, my core values, and started to become real, right? Because now I'm committed. It's funny how I wasn't really committed to the Committed Life Project at first because I wanted it to be perfect. And so I was like, that's kind of backwards, isn't it, Jose? You teach people how to be committed, and you're always talking about just go for it. So you need to do the same thing. Take your own advice and run with it. And so in last month, I launched the Committed Life Project. And so if you go to the committedlifeproject.com, it kind of breaks it down really well. But essentially what I envision and what my big vision is for this is to get a community of like-minded people, or even people that aren't necessarily like-minded quite yet, but are wanting to learn and grow, and put them in this community where I'm doing coaching sessions every week. We're doing Q&A calls 3 times a week. I do random trainings in the group. I want to do, member spotlight like once a week or once a month, depending on how many members we get. But I really want to empower people and help them live a more committed life. Because so many people go through, and this was me. So raise your hand if that was you, just going through the motions. They're not really committed in any one area. But if we can start being committed more in our lives, in our personal life, in our career, with our children, be more committed with our health and fitness. If we just start being more committed in more areas, life improves. And again, I speak from experience. Once I started being more committed in all these areas, my life started transforming. So I think the whisper that I heard was, you're doing something great. You need to teach this to more people. You need to help more people do the same thing. And what's cool about having a community is, let's say I have 50 members to start, right? and somebody's got a question, but they're too afraid to ask. Well, what if somebody else asks that same question and it's going to help that other person? So as a collective, we're learning and we're growing together. And that's ultimately what I want to see. And then down the road, if I want to bring somebody on to do like this kick-ass mastermind or training, and they say, well, Jose, I don't work for free. It's going to be, $5,000. Okay, let's figure it out, because I want to bring that value to my group. My goal is to have hundreds, if not thousands of people in the Committed Life Project. And one of the questions I ask people when they get into the group is, you have to commit to participating, because if you don't, you're not going to get out of it. You'll get out of it what you put into it. So if you're kind of a fly on the wall, you might get something, but you're going to get the most out of it when you're engaged and you're participating. So as of right now, it's on a Facebook group, but once it gets to a certain point, I'm going to move it to a different platform, which I'm still checking out different platforms that are going to be the most beneficial for those members.
Gotcha. I like it. I think it's incredibly underrated building a community, first and foremost. It's something that I learned in this past year. I never really, ever since the military, I never had a community. I feel like last time I felt like that type of camaraderie. And so what you're doing there is amazing. I love it. I love the whole concept of it. I think it's going to be incredibly beneficial. But again, it is what you said. It's going to be what you put into it. I found
Absolutely.
like for me personally, I tend to commit to too many things. So like multiple coaching programs at once. Right. And you're like, how do I balance all
Been there,
this?
done that.
Yep. And like, I always feel bad. Like because it's one of those things where like, I know I have to pick and choose at a certain point, and the timing of the coaching programs overlap. And it's like, right. Ooh. But again, if you figure out that it's something for you and you put that energy in, you're going to get so much out of it. And what you're doing is going to create such a great interaction. It almost reminds me similarly to like the genius community of Jay Shetty. One of the reasons I went on my wellness journey is because just being a part of that community, just so many uplifting people and his coaching lessons in there. I think it's amazing with what you're doing. It's going to be super, super beneficial. And you're going to get a lot of people going in there and sign up, and just you're going to be able to change so many lives that way. I am curious to see what platform you end up going to from Facebook, though. That's something I've been looking at.
I've been looking at a few different things. I'm in a group with Stu McLaren, I believe his name is, on Facebook. And he actually has a platform called Searchy. I don't know too much about it. I've done a little bit of work in there. Had some friends who tried Circle. They weren't too impressed. A lot of people are talking about Skool, Skool. And yep. A lot of people are loving that. I'm actually in 2 different communities inside of Skool myself, and they're great. But now I've got my friends over in Florida. They just launched a membership similar to what I'm doing, but pretty different at the same time. But they actually have all theirs integrated through their website, through WordPress. And I don't remember the name of the plugin off the top of my head, but I looked into it. Phenomenal. It's been great, but the cost is holy smokes. But if I can build the community big enough, then it's not going to matter. Then I'll be able to put that money into that, anything to enhance the experience, right? So if I can just do a different platform through WordPress like they're doing, and have my own mobile app for people as well, because that's what's so great about Facebook is everyone's on Facebook. It's right there at your fingertips. Not everyone's on Skool. Not everyone's on these other platforms, but if you can get them over there and you have an option for a mobile app that's customized, I think more people will utilize it. So we'll see what happens.
I agree. That's exciting. I'm going to be following this journey too, because this just sounds like it's gonna be a lot of fun for you. I love seeing people's journeys. That's part of the reason why I love podcasting, is get to learn people's stories and then follow along as they're progressing. It's so fascinating to me. But I'm trying to think here. I want to kind of go back to coaching. So lost my train of thought.
The train has derailed.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's part of life. You can't always be where you want to be at with it. So with your coaching, talk to me a little bit more about some of the programs you have in place, because I'm really curious to learn a little bit more. I understand that like the health and wellness, the fitness journey is what you do, and the mindset, but kind of just want to learn more about you and your coaching itself. Just in case people have we all have different things we need. So there's people who are going to need to go on the fitness journey. People who need, if you need the fitness journey, you need the mindset too, more than likely, because that's what I've learned. I need to get my mind right before I can get my fitness right. But I'm just kind of curious a little more about your coaching and this way, and where people can actually reach out to you at, because I'm sure there's going to be people from this podcast that are listening. They're like, hey, I resonate with this guy. I want to reach out and contact him.
Absolutely.
And learn more from him.
So all of my social medias are joseibarra.coach. That's JOSEIB as in boy, ARRA.coach. That's on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, YouTube, which I'm still learning YouTube, and I'm going to be doing a podcast myself. Also breakingbarriers.llc is my website. It's pretty basic page, but it has a link to like my Member Vault account where I host all my courses, and then also a link to the Committed Life Project. Committed Life Project is very inexpensive. Price goes up April 15th, which I think the podcast will probably be out after that. But if you reach out to me and mention this podcast, I'll make sure that you get the founding members price. You just got to send me a DM on Instagram that says committed, and then I will send you the information, and I will create a coupon code so you guys get the founding member price, and I'll honor that for the rest of 2024. That's one way to find me. But as far as my coaching goes, I like to start people with my 12-week program. It's called the Healthy Lifestyle Kickstarter program, because that's essentially what I want to help you do is kickstart a healthy lifestyle. So many people look at these programs and think, oh, this is going to be the quick fix, or this is going to be the thing that really does it. No, it's just the beginning. At the end of my 12-week program, people have the option of staying with me for a month to month on coaching, a month to month. Honestly, I don't want to work with people for more than a year. And some of my other coach friends think I'm crazy for this. Wait, let me explain why. If I can't give you the tools that you need and help you get to that point where you're self-sufficient after 12 months, then I haven't done my job. Or on the flip side of that, if I've given you all the tools, but you're afraid to go out on your own, you need to learn how to have more confidence and faith in yourself too. So, as much as I love people and I would work with them forever if I could, I just don't think it's the most beneficial for people. So I want to be able to help give you the tools, really, hone everything in, and then help you feel empowered to go out and do it on your own, and even help someone else do the same thing. So that's kind of where I'm at with coaching. And it's, again, primarily the healthy lifestyle, a little bit of fitness in there. If people are local, I'm a certified personal trainer. I train people locally too. Not too many people, but it's always an option that's out there. I've trained a few people. I'm also CrossFit level 1 certified, which that's where the community aspect comes from. For those that have never done CrossFit, I know we get a bad rap for a lot of different things, but the community is by far the best thing that ever happened to me. It was my friend Emily that got me started in CrossFit about 2 months into my journey. And I said, well, no. I want to get in shape before I try CrossFit. Well, looking back, that sounds silly. That's how you get in shape. You work out. You don't get in shape to work out. You get in shape by working out. So I started in that community, in addition to the people that were around me, guiding me and supporting me. That's what did it, is that community thing. So the community is really huge. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. And then if I also do some macro coaching, that's something fairly new that I'm offering, is some macro coaching. So it's a little bit more, it's less a one-on-one. It's more of a group type of thing. So you put into my app with everyone else that's doing the macro coaching, and we do a weekly call. And so that's more for people that kind of know what they're doing, but they just need a little extra guidance type of thing, or if they're more on a budget, because coaching is not cheap. Because if it was, and here's why, I don't have some ridiculous price because I think I'm the greatest thing ever. I'm still not as high price as some of my competitors, which I don't know if I'll ever get there, because I don't know if I want to charge that much. I want to make money, but I also don't want to be so high ticket that it's out of reach. But what I've noticed about coaching, and I learned this from my good friend Devin, when people pay, they pay attention. If they don't have enough skin in the game, they won't take it seriously. How many people that are listening right now have taken a course that was either free or under $100, and they just kind of, they didn't put all their energy into it. Now you take that same course and you pay $1,000 for it or $2,000 for it. Do you think you're going to take it a little more serious? and that's what's going to get you better results. So if I'm not charging enough and people aren't getting results because they're kind of they're not fully committed, how does that make me look as a coach? I'm not doing you any favors. So, don't know why I went off on that, but I had to make sure I threw that out there. But there's always something for everybody. And then I've also got a 90-day goal accelerator program. So someone who wants to accelerate whatever goal it is, there's a 90-day plan. I got that too. So,
sorry to interrupt you. I was just kind of curious. The goal accelerator, is that something where you help them create the goal, or do they have their goal kind of in mind and you just help them push forward through it?
Or a little bit of both. A little bit of both. So most people have an idea of what they want to do. And so many people have phenomenal ideas. It's the execution. And sometimes we just have to kind of put their feet to the fire and say, hey, look, okay, these are the steps we're going to take together. And I'm going to ask them those, the right questions to pull out of them what exactly their vision is. And if they're not sure on their vision, I've gotten really good at helping people paint vision for their life. Shout out to Levi Thomas, who taught me how to do that. Phenomenal mentor. But he taught me how to paint. Like, he painted vision for my life. And I tried to quit so many times, but he just kept reminding me why I was doing what I was doing and kept painting that vision for what my life could be. And so that's what I help people do on that call, on that initial call, is help them paint that vision of what their goal could be if they execute. And then we just go through the 90-day program where they're getting coached. There's the accountability piece. They're getting the actionable steps to take. And then they're in 90 days, they're reaching that goal. Or if it's such a lofty goal, that's maybe a little unrealistic, which I don't really believe in unrealistic. Some of the best things ever happened in this world where someone was told, oh, that's not realistic, or, you need to be more logical. Well, logical doesn't create, the technology to go to the moon. Logical doesn't create the Tesla, right? So, and that's if you've never driven a Tesla, those things it's ridiculous how much technology is in one of those things. But just that whole 90-day, just let's do this together and let's help you stay on track. Because most people know what they need to do, but they procrastinate, or they're just like, I'm not sure, because they're lacking that self-confidence. So if I can help guide you through that, and it's not that I'm perfect at all those things, right? But I'm really good at helping other people and holding them accountable and encouraging them. Actually, one of the funny things so my CrossFit gym does Member of the Month. And I just started there a year ago, and I got Member of the Month in January. And I was like, I'm not the greatest athlete in that gym. And we're a competition gym, so we have some savage athletes. But one of the things they told me when I was voted by the coaches to get Member of the Month was I was really good at building community. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. That's what I'm great at. I love building community, and I love encouraging other people. And so that kind of really helped when I got Member of the Month in January. So that's what made me start thinking about the Committed Life Project again. They said, you're good at building community. I'm like, well, that's what I want to do, but how do I do it? So, you know the rest of the story I told earlier. ChatGPT helped me out. So,
I mean, it's important for everybody to understand that, like, hey, sometimes we needed that little nudge. That's what you're giving in your coaching program, is that nudge, because people need the accountability. I myself need it. I'm one of those people that I have all these ideas and I have them all written out, but not every time am I executing because I don't have somebody always. Well, I do now. I have a coach now that's holding me accountable for him and darn near harassing me going through it like, hey, what'd you do with this today? What'd you do with this? Because he knows that's what I need. I need that hard coaching.
Absolutely.
Like, I think that's also another thing that people, when it comes to coaching, understand what type of coaching you need. Understand who you are as a person, what actually works for you. For me, I need hard coaching. I can't have you just hold my hand and tell me the world's going to be my oyster. Like, I need you to say, hey, listen, you're being a punk right now. You're giving yourself all excuses. But if you love your kid, you want to have all these goals like you say you do, show it. So I always needed that harsh little bit. Maybe it's the ex-military me. I don't know.
Well, and I'm really good at being a little bit of everything. Like, I can be super hard coach, or I can be kind of more like soft and gentle. It depends on, because everyone's different. Some people, if I were to coach them the way that you need to be coached, they'd tell me to kick rocks and they'd leave. Right. And we don't want that. So we just need to learn how to talk to talk to those people the right way. And so I can be really nice and soft and calm, and it's okay. It's like, yeah, you made a mistake, but how can we get better tomorrow? Or I like, yeah, that mistake was pretty silly. Like, how are we going to fix that moving forward so you don't repeat that, and just, so I need that hard coaching, because my first ever CrossFit coach, he was a hard ass and I love him for it. Tyler's fantastic. He's actually in Idaho right now building his new house, which I just found out over the weekend, which is exciting to me. Not so exciting that he's moving from Oregon, but he's doing something different. But he was that coach that he had the biggest heart, but he would call you on your BS. It's like, you say you want to get better, so then what are you doing? It's like, you're half-assing it here. It's like, come on. And he would get on me, and I loved that. Some people didn't like it, so they left the gym. They're like, yeah, it's too much. Like, okay. So, but with him, like, that was his style. Like, could he tone it down a little bit? Yeah. But enough for everybody? I don't know. Didn't seem that way, but that doesn't mean he's right or wrong, good or bad. That's just his coaching style. And it works phenomenal for people like me. I love it. So we have so many different coaches at my new gym. There's certain ones that I say, hey, it's okay to yell at me. Like, I thrive on that. So one of my best friends is a coach over there now. His name's Kevin. He's one of my best friends now. We become very close, but he'll yell at me and he'll be like, what the hell are you doing? It's like, push yourself. Stop half-assing this. I'm like, okay, I'm going. But that's how you get better, right? And I've got other members that do the same thing for me because they know sometimes I need that. Sometimes I just need to dig deep, and we have to get uncomfortable. And sometimes, just like with working out, like, you're going to get tired, you're going to get uncomfortable, but that's how you get better. That's how you get stronger. You have to break yourself down to build yourself back up. So,
yeah, one of my friends always quotes, I don't know where he got the quote from. Maybe he made it up himself. I don't know. But he always said, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So I always have that in the back of my mind when things are getting tough. I'm like, hey, this means I'm progressing. So I need to get good with it.
Right. I learned that one a long time ago. But the other one that I love too, that kind of goes hand in hand with that is, the comfort zone is a very beautiful place, but nothing grows there. Absolutely nothing grows in the comfort zone. And it can be very beautiful, and there's nothing wrong with staying in your comfort zone. But if you want more out of life, you have to step outside of that comfort zone. So do you remember the show Boy Meets World from the 90s?
Oh, yeah.
So Mr. Feeney always had his wise words of wisdom. So I actually posted a reel that was a clip from that recently where he talks about how he took his plant out of the pot inside the house and moved it outside. And of course I said, oh, because you thought it would do better out here in the world, right? He's like, no, because I was afraid that if I didn't, it would stop growing. So sometimes you have to get out of your environment, get outside of that comfort zone in order to grow. And that show had so many of those little nuggets that we didn't even think about until we got older. And now when I see those clips, I'm like, man, Mr. Feeney was a damn genius. Like, he was such a brilliant mind. And we don't have shows like that anymore, unfortunately. I wish we did. But there's so many valuable lessons in that. You're not going to grow if you stay in the same place. So if you want to grow, you got to step outside of the comfort zone and watch yourself grow. And find people that are doing what you want to do. Model those people. There's people that have things that I want, and so I'm going to model them. I'm not going to be exactly like them because I can't be exactly like them because I'm me, right? I'm not Jason. I'm not going to be like that guy that helps you build a podcast in 24 hours. I've been working on mine for months. But find people that have what you want and just model them and put your own twist on it. You come to Southern Oregon, you ask about wedding DJs. I'm one of the first people talk about. There's like 5 of us that get mentioned almost immediately. And it wasn't because I'm just this great DJ, right? It started with my mentor had 15 years of experience. I learned as much as I could from him, and I put my own personality behind it. But I didn't change a lot of stuff, just the personality behind it. And that's what's helped me achieve the level that I've achieved in that. So I modeled him, but made it my own. I modeled him and put my own twist on it. So there's some people that will watch me like, you were trained by Sean, weren't you? Uh-huh. They see the obvious signs that I was, trained by Sean, but they also see the unique style that I put into it. That was a big part of the success there is I modeled him. a lot of the other DJs that I trained way back when they didn't model him, they're not around anymore. So, you take people that I love the guy for his DJ skills were phenomenal. His business ethics were a whole different ballgame. Like the way he did things, I didn't really agree with, so I didn't ever take those into my business. But the other parts, that just shot me to the moon. And 20 years later, I don't even have to try, and I book gigs left and right. So
nice. I think that's super important tip too. If you're trying to get somewhere, you gotta find people that are already there. You want to surround yourself with people who aren't at your level, that aren't in your comfort zone. You want them, and it's hard because the ego doesn't want you to sit there and feel inferior to anybody. But if you're trying to actually grow, and this is something that took me a while, I still occasionally struggle with internally.
Right.
If you're trying to grow, you have to talk to those people who've been there and done that. And it's something that I've been working on. It's like the community I'm around now is people are in places that like, this is something I want to do. I want to just coach in fitness, like for example, right? I don't, but like, it's just one of those things, like as an example, like the people around me have things that I'm like, ooh, you have a way about you that I want to learn, like the way you carry yourself. I want to learn that. One of my good friends, Bobby, just one of the most genuine human beings I ever meet. But the way his presence, his way he builds communities similar to you, it's something I was like, I want to learn how to do. So I'm going to get close to you, not just for that, because the fact he's just an amazing human being in general, and like he has this natural gravitational pull. Big 6'9", like Vikings looking dude, CrossFit guy as well. But he knows how to build community. So I was like, yeah, I want to follow you. Like, I want to learn what you're doing. This is amazing. And like, let's go on a journey. And I think it's super helpful for people to kind of evaluate where you want to go and just coach. So that's why I love what you just told me about following your mentor there. And the key there that I'm taking away is that it's not just learning from them, but also learning how to take the good and then put your own spin on it as well. So make it yours versus just directly copying and pasting. Right.
Because one of my other mentors, Antonio, phenomenal community builder. Holy smokes. This guy he's so charismatic, which I can be too, but in a totally different way. If I tried to act like Antonio, people would look at me like I was crazy. Right. But he's so good at what he does. So again, model people, get around people that have what you want. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Like I want to be the person. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I don't want to be the guy that has all the answers. I don't want to be the guy that's doing the best. Because then you're not going to learn from those people. Now, is it okay to hang out with people that are still learning and growing? Absolutely. But I'm saying, like, go out and do the courses. Get with the people. May 1st, if all goes according to plan with my schedule, I'll be down in LA with Brendan Burchard with his big growth conference. People that have what you want or have something about them that you admire and that you want to learn from, go for it. That's why people go to Tony Robbins. There's something about Tony that people love, and he's really good at pulling that out of people. And so people go to Tony Robbins. Same thing with, Ed Milet. People love Ed Milet because what he's doing. And so you just learn from these people that have what you want. And if you listen to some of these guys' stories, like Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher, you listen to his story, or you listen to Les Brown and his story, all these people had to go through something that stretched them, right? They all had to grow at some point. And Les Brown, if you read his story, he had a lot of trials and tribulations. Same with Eric Thomas. Same with Inky Johnson. So these are some of my favorite, motivational people. Ed Milet, there was a time, if you listen to his audiobook, Max Out Your Life, it's an hour and a half. It's real quick. But he talks about being so broke that he's going out to the shower by the pool at his apartment complex to take a shower. That's how broke he was. But he had to put on he had to just keep showing up. And next thing you know, look up Ed Milet now. If you don't know who he is, look him up. He's doing phenomenal. But he struggled. So most people, when they struggle, they quit. They think, oh, well, it's just not in the cards. you don't realize how close you are to that breakthrough. So just keep going. One more day. That's what I learned from Ed Milet. Just one more day. If things are getting tough and you're ready to quit, don't quit for just one more day. Then the next day, one more day. Next thing you know, it's 100 days later, then you might finally have that aha moment where things start to take off. But it's not going to take off if you just quit. And that's where most people, I think, get it wrong. Is it gets hard. They don't think they can do it. They just quit too easily. Push through just a little bit harder. So.
Absolutely. That whole thing reminds me of this cartoon image I see circling around here and there on Facebook and whatnot. It's one person up top, actually a same person, but the top is him just going, like, digging through a coal mine, and he gets to the coal. The bottom image is him pushing past the coal, turning that coal into diamonds. That's the difference. Is people, the guy up top stopped when it got too hard. The guy at the bottom pushed through and created those diamonds in his life. I think that's something that a lot of us tend to do. Is it's like a defense mechanism naturally ingrained in our body and our psyche, that like once things get too tough, we want to hold back. We want to change course. It's like a fight or flight system. But if you find that way, like you said, to just keep going, even when it feels like you're not getting anywhere, you are. The fact that you're still pushing through is incredible.
I was going to say, absolutely. You just got to keep pushing through. People don't realize, again, how close they are to. I love that analogy with like the diamonds. But the other part that I think about, you got to ask yourself this. So like, if I would have got to where I'm at right now, if it would have been easy, no hard work, it just would have been like, just kind of happened. It wouldn't be as rewarding as it has been, going through all the trials, the tribulations, and all the struggles. Because the struggles are what helped me grow. If it wasn't for the struggles, I wouldn't have grown. So I wouldn't be the person I need to be for my clients, right? I'm constantly growing into the person I need to be for that next chapter of my life. I can't go to chapter 10 if I'm still stuck in chapter 9, right? I got to grow past that point. So that's what people don't realize is, and then the other thing too, they look at other people's chapter 10 and be like, oh, I should be there. Well, you're on chapter 1 still. Like, go look at their chapter 1. It looks a lot like yours, but you just have to keep going. Stop comparing your chapters, and your chapter 5 might look different than their chapter 5. And that's okay. Stop comparing yourself and just keep doing what you're doing and keep pushing forward, and don't quit. Break through those barriers and stop holding yourself back.
Love it. Love it. Well, with that, getting a little close to the end here. So I would love to end it with a couple questions. I already know what you're going to say for your superpower, so I'm going to make you pick a different superpower for this one. I would love to hear what they think their superpower is. I already know that pulling the best version of someone's self out of them is your superpower. But what else would you consider a superpower of yours?
I feel like I'm a great motivator. Because I'm a great listener. Now, my ex-girlfriends might disagree with that, but I'm really good at listening to people. And a lot of people, sometimes people just dump things on me. I'm like, whoa, like, where'd that come from? I just feel really comfortable with you. Like, I'm really good at making people feel comfortable where they can share what they're going through, because I myself am vulnerable, and I show my vulnerable side, and I'm not always trying to be perfect. So other people feel that they can relate to me better because of that. And that's another one of my superpowers. Wasn't always that way. I got to give a shout out to my friend Ashley, who pointed it out years ago in Dallas, Texas at a photo shoot. She's like, stop being so perfect all the time. It's like, people can't relate to you because they think they have to be perfect around you because you're such a perfectionist. Knock it off. And it really hit a spot in my heart. I'm like, oh, you're right. Because when I see people that aren't making mistakes, I think, oh, I can't be like them. And I don't even try. So people might see me and do the same thing. So I've gotten really good at listening and showing my vulnerable side so people will do the same thing. Because vulnerability, believe it or not, listeners, watchers, wherever you're seeing this, vulnerability is a strength. Because it takes a lot of strength to be vulnerable. But if you do it with the right people at the right time, you'll see tremendous results because people will relate to you a lot better.
Perfect. Yeah, 100% agree. Vulnerability is incredibly underrated. I used to be one of those people that, again, this stems from a military background. You gotta be strong like a bull. You can't show emotion. Nowadays you can in the military, but at the time when I was, and I'm not even that old. It just in the past couple of years, it's recently changed for the better, for that matter. You weren't able to talk about your emotions, any mental health traumas you were having. Like it was something where you're supposed to be almost perfect, like the perfect soldier at all times. And that's not the perfect soldier. The perfect soldier there isn't a perfect soldier, first and foremost.
Oh.
But the best version is the one who's the most authentic version.
Right.
And I didn't realize it until I got out, but that's a whole nother story. So I love got a lot of fun superpowers. So I have one last question here. It's mostly just because I love to hear people's favorite quotes. So if you had one quote that you live by and that would be on your epitaph, for instance, what would that quote be?
I've got so many favorite quotes, but I think the one that resonates with me the most, especially with my line of work and what I get to do with coaching people, is what Tony Robbins always says: where focus goes, energy flows. Right? Where you put your attention is where you're going to see those results from. Right? So if I'm constantly looking at all the negative is going to get, is what I'm going to see. But if I'm always focused on the silver lining, on the positives, and staying focused and in gratitude, that's all going to come right back to me. Right? So it's just like if you plant 2 seeds, you plant corn in one spot and you plant poison in the other, and which one's going to grow? The one you keep watering, right? If you're planting seeds of doubt, that's what's going to keep growing. You keep planting seeds of abundance and seeds of positivity, that's what's going to grow. So whatever you plant is what you're going to end up harvesting at the end of the day or at the end of the season, however you want to look at it. But you have to plant those seeds of positivity, plant those seeds of growth, whatever it is, but just stop planting the seeds of self-doubt and negativity because they don't serve you. And so many people focus on things that they can't control. And I'm going to ask people to stop doing that too. If you can't control it, don't let it steal your joy. That's why I tell a lot of my clients. I don't know where I heard that from, but it just came to me one day. I was like, when you just stop, just don't do it, because you're letting things that you can't control steal your joy. And when your joy is gone, then you're not living up to your potential. You're not doing the best that you can do. So, and so many people do it. They complain about, you see it on social media all the time. People complain about every little thing. So when my kids come to me about something that they're upset about, I said, well, can you control it? Well, no. What can you control? Okay, let's focus on that. Focus on the controllables. And for me, the controllables are, focusing on the positivity and, making adjustments when something comes up.
Love it. All right. So many good gem stuff this episode here. I really appreciate you being on. I had a lot of fun. Probably going to reach out to you again. We'll do another episode here because I feel like you just have so much information that we could not cover in an hour's time frame. We did discuss it before. You said there's so much information. So I was like, oh, okay, cool.
My little brain's got a lot in there. A lot of life experience.
Love it. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on. And for everybody tuning in, thank you so much for tuning in when this episode does get released. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd really appreciate if you could hit that subscribe button, leave a detailed review, and of course, check us out on Instagram, Everyday Elevations, for some exclusive content, the latest updates, and even some behind-the-scenes sneak peeks. And of course, you can find Jose at, where can they find you at again, Jose?
It's jose@ibarra.coach on social media, or the Committed Life Project is my username on Instagram for the Committed Life Project.
Perfect. Awesome. And I'll actually have that in the episode details as well for anybody. But with that, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Of course.